Hi, so today I'm going to show you just a quick drawing on how to even start using charcoal. Like how do you start the sketch, what kind of charcoal do you need to use, and putting some of those techniques that I did in my previous video into action. So here on the screen you see that I have a picture of just a fake candlestick in a hallway that has some cobwebs on it. That's what I'm going to show you just to start out with. This is not going to be perfect by any means because I'm trying to keep the time down to a minimum, and also it's kind of weird looking on the camera while doing this, so we'll see how it goes. So anyway, I want to start out using vine charcoal. Vine charcoal is good for sketching, and you can easily wipe it away. So I'm just going to very quickly start up here and get like a basic outline going. Remember, when you're working with cylinders, you don't want to make it like perfectly rectangular square. If it's a cylinder, it's got a roundness to it. And see there, I kind of messed up a little bit. I don't need this extra line right here. And the beauty of vine charcoal is that you can just kind of wipe it away and erase it really easily. So I can go in and just touch that up a little bit. So I'm not worrying about any of the details just yet. I kind of made that too big right there. Keep in mind proportion, so I actually need to make this a little wider. Right now I'm just going to go in and kind of fix some of the proportions a little bit. Okay. And in the background, let me raise my rectangle up. I'm just going to go ahead and put some of these lines right here where the back doors were in the hall. Okay. So now that I have this, I'm going to go through and once again kind of work on some, like just straightening up some things. That line's a little bit crooked. The shape of the flame part's not exactly right. Okay. So what I'm going to show you now is, now that we have this part done, and since this wipes off so easily, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the compressed charcoal, and I'm going to start adding some value in there. So the darkest part that we have is over in the top left hand corner. and around the edges down here, it's completely black, and also in this area right here on the stand part. So I'm going to use just a side. Using the side of it, I'm going to just fill that in dark. Also be aware of where there's any highlights and everything that you might have, so it's not as dark over here in this area because of the light. It's darker down here as well. So, okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill in this area. This area is super black. So I'm basically just going to color in this part right here. So I paused it and just went ahead and filled in a little bit of the dark places just to save some time. And now I'm going to take a paper stump. Okay, you can also use your finger. Actually, for these larger places, I'm going to use my finger and just start smearing it in, blending it. And these places that are supposed to be completely white, don't worry about if you get a little bit on that, because we're going to go back in with an eraser and get some of those out. And I also have some white charcoal that I'm going to add to it. Now you have to be careful with fingerprints. Even I'll probably see I've already kind of screwed that up a little bit. You don't really want to hold your paper down like I've been doing. It's a bad habit that I have of mine, and it's kind of hard to break when you're trying to keep your paper still. If you have a piece of paper that you can put over it that you can touch and hold it down, that's the best solution. Okay, I'm going to pause again and just kind of finish some of that up a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to take the paper stump and get in some of these smaller areas with it. If you only have one paper stump available, it's best to like label one side, like this is my charcoal side, this is my pencil side, because the types of media that it is, like you don't really want to accidentally use the charcoal side when you're working with pencil. It just gets a little bit dirty that way, so make sure that you are aware of that when you're working. And you can see that it kind of lightens things up. It kind of pulls some of the pigment off of the paper. But that's okay, because you can always go back in and make it a little bit darker. Because we want this to be pretty much a full silhouette. And if you look, like I forgot to even put that part in there with the charcoal, and it's almost dark enough that I don't even need it. At this point, there's a lot of refining left to do. I'm just going to show you some things that you can do with the eraser. An eraser is not just a thing you use to fix mistakes. You can refine things as well. So I made this a little too dark here. I can go back. Okay, and you can even, like, some of the places that are over in this area that need to be erased out, you can take that. There's a lot of, like, streaks that go this way. So you can, blot some areas out. Like if it's not a perfect streak, but it's kind of just lighter, you can blot them out by rolling it or dabbing it. Same thing with like over here. These are more vertical on this side. Okay, so those are just a few things that you can do with the eraser. Next, if you have access to a charcoal pencil, these can come in handy for getting like little details. If you just can't get this quite right, you can go back in and sharpen up some areas. So it'll give you a little bit more control of things that way. Okay, so I've gone back and I've made some corrections and adjustments with my values and just fixing some proportions and all of that. And now I've also just sprayed what I have with fixative. It's called Workable Fixative. It's usually specifically used for chalk and charcoal. And so now I can go and if you look, I've let it dry. I can go over it with, my fingers are so dirty. I can go over it with my finger and you see that barely anything comes off. So it makes using the white layering on top of it a lot easier. So right now I'm just going to go through and the places that I want really white, I'm going to add that in there. So I'm just basically adding like little highlights in throughout here. So I can go through lens flares and reflections off the walls and everything. And I can do it over here. And it's okay to add a little bit of things in here that you don't see in the picture. I'm going to add the reds coming off. So just making it look really cobwebby, like that. I'm going to go through, I'm going to smooth that out with my finger as well. So, anyway, this is still not probably the best it could be, but for the sake of time, we're going to stop here. And you probably have like a general idea of how to get started and how to go about the process. So, Vine charcoal to start out with, going through and fixing it, adding in your dark values, blending everything out, and then making some adjustments, and then adding in your highlights on top after you've added some fixative. So that's the basics of what we're doing, and I hope that helps.